Hello, and welcome back to Hoi 4, Equestria War, under the ascendancy under Hiram Zaranid. But, more importantly, the guide is in Zebrica. Oh, hey, we got a new image. The student is most perplexing. She adamantly rejects the truth that the teacher has given to us, and yet the guidance have prompted me to save her. Perhaps I'm supposed to help her accept her role as an equine of silver? Maybe. We'll find out, won't we? We most certainly will find out, eventually. Oh, we also have the lockstep legions, which I didn't read. The stalwart soldiers, the Starfather, are without equal. Woe unto those who face those equines of silver in battle, for terror shall be the last thing that they experience. The faithless student. I still cannot believe you nearly got me killed. What the hay is wrong with you? You survived and have grown stronger as a result of this trial. The road to escaping your poisonous beliefs in harmony is long, but you will thank me in the end. The guide and the student continued traveling south through Zaratian Desert. They made some brief stops in various Imazib settlements to resupply, but didn't stay long as not to attract too much attention. The guide held an organ from one of their holy creatures after all. Onwards they went, with their next stop being somewhere the one of the most inhospitable places in the world, Azir. The two of them walked for some time before the student spoke up again. You're wrong, you know. Harmony isn't a poison. The guide withdrew another pair of chilling potions from her pouch and offered one to the students. You believe that because you lack faith. I have plenty of faith, scowled the student as she accepted the potion. Faith in the princess is faith in harmony, faith that good will always triumph over evil in the end. And believe me, your ascendancy is the most evil, twisted faith I've ever heard of. It won't last forever. This is where you are mistaken, my student. The Equestrians and their alicorns may be fragments of the Godhead, but that is all they are. Fragments, unrefined and unshaped. Once they have the opportunity to accept the blessed truth that the ascendancy provides, they will gladly join us in our ultimate goal to restore the Godhead. Only then will we be immortal again. You're insane. Your cult forces every pony to kneel and slaughter those that don't. That's not accepting any truth. That's just genocide. The guide briefly closed her eyes and took a deep breath to calm herself. Sacrifices must be made for the greater good. In time you will accept this as well. The student considered arguing further, but deemed that the venture an exercise in futility. Whatever. Are we there yet? And thus the journey continued. And, no, we're not there yet. So, get wrecked. Let's just start getting some people in the... over here. Because I will need them. Let's see. Okay, I definitely want Commando. Because I'm using a lot of special forces this run. Primordial Fear. We're here, said the guide as she set her bags down onto the sand. The student looked around, confused. What she saw in every direction was sand, and more sand. Are you okay? Have you been drinking enough water? The guide waved a hoof dismissively. It's hard to describe. We'll have to wait for this unbound magic to become apparent. So we might as well make camp here. Over the next several hours, the two travelers sat patiently, waiting for something to happen. The student first noticed that something was amiss when she felt her spine tingle. Out of the corner of her eyes, she kept spotting black rocks and broken pillars in the distance, but whenever she tried to focus her eyes on them, they vanished. She truly began to feel unsettled when the very air itself seemed to flicker in front of her. Somewhere deep in her mind, she knew that this place was not safe. Her senses were screaming at her to leave immediately, but she did not know why. If the guide was also being affected by this place, she didn't show it. The guide stood up and walked up to one of the flickering anomalies, then opened a small veil in front of it. She whispered something, then a small part of the odd phenomenon seemed to be drawn into the vial. The guide sealed it and turned to the student, beckoning her to follow. We have We have what we came for. Let's go. Hold on, what the hey is wrong with this place, and why does it give me the heebie-jeebies? Even I do not know. The guide began to walk away, forcing the student to follow after her. The magic in this place terrifies any equine who sets foot in it. The fear is deep-seated, and no one understands why. Even the locals, as sparse as the tribes here are, avoid it at all cost. The student turned her head in confusion. But nothing's happened to us, so what's there to be scared of? The guide contemplated his question for a moment. I'm not sure. I want to know, honestly. Would you rather we investigate it further? She looked to her student, who shook her head. Then let us push this place out of our minds. It's probably nothing in any case. Oh, wow. This just got me semi-excited for the Zur focus tree, which I have not cared about in any sense before. I've pretty much been excited about every other nation around it besides Azur, but I'm now interested in Azur getting a focus tree just because I hope they better have some stuff about that in a future Azur focus tree, because if they don't, I'm gonna be so annoyed. Like, that is too good to miss out on. Like, come on. Astria, the realm of the donkeys. Quite strange, equines, though equines nonetheless. A tablet is said to be hidden here, one that belonged to ancient Assyrian god king. In other news, my first few attempts to teach the student have failed, though I'm not ready to give up yet. I know I can turn her around. Yes, of course. She will become a believer soon enough. I know that to be true. How? Well, I just know. Because everyone will be a believer eventually. Okay. Let's see. Okay, I get all this stuff anyways, despite going that path. Well, that makes me feel a lot better about going with offense or attack, because I get that anyways. But, let's see. Let's go with this for now. Even the poorest shall prosper. Via the benefits of production and labor, those who follow the teacher of Starfather shall achieve boundless rewards, and not just spiritual fulfillment, but also in bringing an end to the avian. All who venerate the spirit of the equinity and serve it shall have their needs met. Let's see. What if I just don't do this, and instead just make all of you chargers? There, boom. I've done it, guys. These guys can be awarded medals? I honestly don't think I knew this was a thing. I'm guessing this is base game. I didn't know you could give individual, like, troops medals. That's really cool. Oh, wow, that's like the exact amount, apparently, that I could do, because I can't make any more. Okay, cool. There we go. Now we got a lot of those divisions instead. Well, in that case, we should definitely finish up getting chargers. A looming dread. Fear seemed to preeminate the city of Shuf as the guide and the student made their way to the local marketplace. Ponies spoke to each other in agitated, nervous voices, and every conversation seemed to end like they might never see tomorrow. Some even looked like they were prepared to flee at a moment's notice. Even the guide seemed somewhat off-put by this. As she purchased some supplies from the market square, she inquired about the odd behavior of the ponies around her. I'm surprised you don't know, said the sales pony in a hushed voice. The terror up north has consumed the media and the minds of every pony here. What terror? What terror? Inquired the guide with concerned curiosity. The salesman shuddered briefly. They call it the Ascendancy, a truly frightening cult that has proclaimed death and destruction to all who oppose it. Any who resist their rule suffer cruel and painful demise. Already many have fallen to them, and every pony here is wondering if we'll be next. That's ridiculous, the guide looked appalled. The star promise... Oh, God. The Star Father has promised us salvation, and only if we listen and adhere to his principles will we achieve transcendencies. Those who don't are simply corrupted by Zalmair. Horror seemed to overcome the sail ponies as he listened to her. You're one of them! What are you, a scout for their army? Please leave us be. Just go. We have nothing to offer you and everything to lose. The sales pony stumbled backwards, abandoning his stall and fleeing from the guide. She stood stopped, processing the sales pony's extreme reaction. The student then spoke up from behind her. Now do you understand what your ascendancy does to any innocent ponies they've yet to conquer? The guide shook her head, both to dismiss the student's words and to clear her own thoughts. No, it is they who do not understand. Zalmar's influence has poisoned their minds, and yours. There's no getting through to you, is there? And thus the journey continued. Yay! For now, I think I'm just going to set this to go in for 10, so I'd get to even 12 for that division. Alright. I think after this, it's time to see this grand campaign and what it does exactly. We're gonna get to approach the Legionnaires of the Night, which will be cool because they're like big. So having them as friends sounds nice. I hope that's friendship and not approach them, backstab them. Oh, we're working. Great, more spooky more spooky ruins. What are we looking for exactly? The tablet of Asimtar, said to hold traces of alchemical reagents used in the process of creating ancient Azeterian god kings. The guide and the student were both knee-deep in partially collapsed tomb, somewhere of the Asterian wilderness. For hours they pilfered through coffins and various containers in search of said mystical tablet. I still don't get why your star dad needs all these things, the student complained, as he hefted another rock off his obstructed coffin. Couldn't he have just brought some substitute ingredients from the grocery store? The guide dusted off a vase to examine it for clues. If it was that simple, we wouldn't be out here. Fair enough. The student lifted open the coffin and sighed in disappointment when she saw it was empty. She sat down as the thought crossed her mind. One more thing. How do you always know exactly where to look? I haven't seen you use a map at least not since we started. It's complicated. The guide held up a vase, then smashed it onto the ground. There amongst pieces, she found and lifted a small, unassuming tablet with a victorious smile on her face. Let's just say that I'm drawn to important things. The student stared at her, dumbfounded. What the hey? I guess that beats getting chased by a giant monster. Indeed, though there will be more trials ahead. Another ingredient down. Obtained ingredient tablet of Asimtar to be used in alchemical super projects. Woo! Oh, we're not done yet. Okay. Once this ticks down, I'm going to need to freeze the video for a moment so I can look at if we have the ability to make any more ingredients. Because I don't know at this point, because we've done all the ones that I've found that we were able to do already. The time has come to begin walking the final road of our journey. The era of the avian is nearing its end. When we are finished, griffins, hippogriffs, and all other avians shall be known of in only one place, ancient history. Rising tensions. How many lives is it worth, your goal? Asked the student, breaking the long silence between the two equines as they traveled south by the Trothalf River. As many as it takes. What about your friends? What if they have to die too? Will it still be worth it? In the end, the guide gritted her teeth, images of Elishat and Zethro flashing through her mind. Yes, yes, she said firmly. The student pressed further, determined to get a reaction out of the guide. And once you start with an empty world broken by your hooves, what then? How many cultists have to be wiped out, histories erased, cities destroyed, families torn apart? Zalmer's influence runs deep in the world. You talk about some evil god bringing ruin to the world, but everyone, everywhere, is afraid of you bringing ruin to them. Maybe you're being influenced yourself. The two of them had stopped. The soft breeze of desert wind was now the only audible thing they could hear. Reaching for a blade, the guide contemplated whether or not ending the life of this insolent student who was worth defying the guidance. After a moment, she composed herself and instead responded to the student. If we do not make these sacrifices, then our souls will be lost forever. The student screamed in exasperation. Why are you so... I don't even have your words! You're becoming hysterical. Before the student could speak any further, the guide turned and threw a small vial at her. It shattered once it smashed into her face, causing the powdery contents to billow out around her. Almost immediately, the student became woozy. Then she passed out shortly afterwards. The guide sighed, then reached down to pick up the unconscious Pegasus, and thus their journey continued. Alright, we're going to take a brief pause here, and we'll come back in a moment once I know if I can make things. Alright, and we're back. And I have found that there is exactly one we can make. We need a hoofful of breezy wings, we need the unbound magic we just got, and we need the water from the holy springs. Primeval magical crystal. This inmagnet crystal is capable of endlessly producing carbon copies of itself by dissolving nearby magical objects. The crystal usable for magical weapons and manufacturing and many otherwise expensive endeavors, it is imperative that we use this magical artifact well. From an incident, it is known that any living creature that made contact with the crystal through their bare skin dies in a mere instant due to the crystal absorbing all of the creature's magic, before subsequently replicating, just as it would with any magical object. Wow, okay. Makes the collective process of crystals from the bodies of our enemies twice as effective. I haven't even done that yet because I haven't fought any enemies. I didn't know that was a thing that we can do at all. Brewing successful, primeval magical crystal. From the personal journal of Hiram Zaranid, I've created something that fills me with trepidation. This crystal, made from a hoofful of breezy wings, unbound magic, and water from the holy springs of Watertown, is quite probably the single most dangerous thing I've ever made. It kills almost any living creature that it touches by violently separating all of the magic from them and absorbing it. In a moment of absent-mindedness, I almost picked it up to move it somewhere else. Could you imagine that, dying because of a simple lapse of judgment? It gives me the shivers. Honestly, it's given me a morbid reminder to be more careful with my own mortality. I wish it gave you a careful reminder of your mortality, but mortality, as I still have much work to do. This makes the collection and process of crystals from the bodies of enemies twice as effective. We only have 3 left. We're getting close. We're getting close. But for now, we continue on. We are done with that side. We now can move on to Vermilion. Ah, Krylia. I've never acquainted myself with the culture of the eastern equines of Zebrica. Perhaps one day I should. And yet I have heard many things wondrous about the local Kirin population. Although I understand that they have recently gone through a period of political turmoil, I will venture to the city of Vermilion, and in the bustling markets I will locate an ingredient for the project, the appropriately named Ghost Pepper Vermilion. I'll also have Wretch the Pegasus join me for the journey. This is definitely better than going against giant spiders, hydras, and changing death squads. You might be wondering, why is that so low if we're just going to be talking to some people? That sounds like an easy thing. The silence, probably, making it where we can't talk to any of them to ask questions. That's probably going to hurt our ability to do our mission as well as we would hope. Not being able to ask anyone any directions or anything like that probably isn't great for doing something in their territory. But, oh well. It'll be fine. Yeah, to the bitter end. Traveling all the way across the continent. Do 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 do. Wonder what way we're traveling. Like, are we going back to the Ascendancy and going up through here? Or are we just going straight through here? Like, the Grand Crusade. The streets of Colthage were packed with equines, each struggling to get closer to the Grand Plaza in the city center where the Starfather was due to issue a proclamation. That in itself was not cause for the massive turnout, though the Ascendancy expected all its equines to stop whatever they were doing to hear it. It was the fact that the Starfather himself would be issuing the proclamation in person and not through an equine of gold. Whatever it was going to be important. When there was no more room left to stand, and scarcely any room left on to breathe, a frenzied roar went out over the crowd as numerous figures emerged over the grand stage erecting for them. First were 20 equines of silver, who formed the pyramid meter around the stage, then a dozen equines of gold, who occupied the center. Following them were not 1, not 2, but all 6 of the Grand Master. Pleasure, pain, love, poetry, joy, and virtue. And then finally in the center of all was the zebra himself, the Starfather, Hiram Zeradin. For any other creature it would have taken minutes for the screaming adulation to die down, but Hiram only had to raise a hoof, and the streets of Colthage fell into silent reverence. The Starfather looked out over his gathered supporters and innumerous faithful, and finally equines of Colthage heard his voice. Hear me and rejoice, O spirits of equinity. He began, much as his preachers had done for his words in the past. The time has finally come for us to reclaim a right beyond the veil of the mortal world. We have built our society to be pure and deserving of the restoration of the Godhead. And now it is to turn our focus against our enemies, the vile, corrupting threat of avians everywhere. The hisses of anger and the hated avians rose from the gathered thousands, and Hiram let them linger for a moment before he continued. The Ascendancy is strong, and we are pure of heart, but until the curse of avian kind is removed from this world forever, we will never return to the embrace of the Godhead. This is why it is now our duty, our sacred obligation, to bring death to the avians that pollute this world. Every avian we can find, and we will kill, and we will use their punished wicked souls to bring ourselves closer to our destined future. The scourge of Zelmar will be purged from this world. Ready yourselves, my true believers, my faithful, and prepare to fight. All avians must die. All avians must die. We gain 10 war support, we gain 5 supremacy, and we gain a faction. We're the Ascendancy. We're the Transcendental Pact of Equinity. Let's see. Let's see. You've got some troops. Let's go over this weakling. They have like nothing. Let's just take them out. Oh, and let's get the commando. And we'll grab up the army regrouping as well. The redemption of Coltha. In truth, Colthage is incomplete. There is still Coltha, the rebellious brother to the east. The rebellious brother to the east, who time and time again has brought ruin upon itself in Colthage. Now that we have solidified our control here, we can begin to teach Coltha. They shall learn their lesson once and for all. A letter of utmost importance. Greetings, my most trusted guide. I hope that this letter finds you well. Everything is proceeding according to plan back home. Though I have realized that we need a particular mixed brood if we are to succeed in our goal. I've theorized that the primeval magical crystal can be created from a hoof full of breezy wings, unbound magic, and holy water. I mean, I already did that. But cool. It is imperative that you obtain these ingredients as soon as possible to do that. So, We might utilize this crystal properties when we begin cleansing the avians from this world. I trust this won't be too difficult for you. I already did it. You're welcome. I have succeeded already. I know. I'm fast. I know. Quick work from me, as you'd expect. I am amazing, after all. Alright. Grandmaster of Pleasure falls ill. How long is it going to take for me to get here? Hello? I mean, yeah, I get it's quite a journey, but I like getting, you know, some sort of, like, showing that we're actually getting along. There we go. Thank you. The Vermilion experience. Throughout the bustling city of Vermilion, curing from every corner of the realm came the trade in the market square. The guide stood out like a sore hoof, though the student less so due to shared colorful coats of ponies of the Kirin. Ever since the silence had been ended. Oh, well, it hasn't in game, but I suppose in lore it probably should end by now. So I'm assuming this is ahead of time, because they're gonna, at this point, once they have a focus tree, in the silence. Makes sense, I suppose. Had entered a tumultuous period of instability. The one thing that had remained consistent was the newfound appreciation for trade in the various markets scattered throughout the realm. The guide ignored the curious glances that several Kirin gave her as she made her way through the crowd. The grandiose architecture unique to Kyria, though quite pretty to admire, did not do her any favors in helping her find what Sheila was looking for. The guide nearly lost sight of the student several times as the young Pegasus got caught up in staring at the beautiful sights of the city. Luckily for them, they happened upon a food stall run by a rather short, slender Kirin. "Greetings and welcome to Vermilion," she said, clasping her cloven hooves together with a bow. "What can I do for you?" "I'd like to purchase one ghost pepper," answered the the guide with an awkward bow in return. The Equins of Kyria were unique in their culture, that was for sure. The Kirin bowed again. "Of course. One moment." The guide observed the Kirin open several unmarked pots of peppers, pluck one from them, and then offer it to her. The guide thanked the Kirin and exchanged coin for the pepper, then turned to see the student dumbstruck at how simple this whole endeavor was. The student shook her head in disbelief. "What? That's it? The rare ingredient for your alchemical thing is just a common pepper from Kyria? These things were imported to Manhattan all the time." "Sometimes it is rather that. It really is that simple." The guide shrugged, then beckoned her to follow. "I'll bet the Starfather doesn't even need this for alchemy. He just wants us to spice up his burgers or something." The guide made a mental note to try out the pepper in some recipes later. I hope it's just one of these three uses the pepper, but it is literally just like a food ingredient. That would be amazing. Saddle Arabia. The student has become more and more irritating as of late. I'm starting to question the wisdom of the guidance as it continues to insist that this young mare is somehow important enough to keep alive. Though perhaps if I am more patient, I might understand its will. Next stop is Saddle Arabia Peninsula, the land of what some call the purest equines, horses. They've undergone some recent wars, much like Colthage has, but I have no doubt that what I seek lies here. But I think this is a good time to go ahead and end this episode. I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, like, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell button. And as always, peace.